So we have what could be another possible attack on a ship in the Strait of Hormuz today. A, quote, unknown projectile reportedly hit an engine room and a fire broke out. The crew abandoned the Liberian flagged ship, but one member is reported missing, and that comes to us from Reuters reporting this afternoon. Chief International Correspondent Steve Harrigan reporting live from the region in Tel Aviv. Hi, Steve.
Martha, despite this continued violence and continued reports of attacks against commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, administration officials continue to be confident that a deal for free passage of all commercial shipping through that strait is really on the horizon, that such a deal could be signed as early as tomorrow. In the meantime, CENTCOM continues its tough blockade of Iran and all of its ports. CENTCOM released some video of that blockade of Iran in action.
Captain, you are requested to alter course to 190. If you do not comply, we will compel compliance with force. This is Warship 45. We will monitor your course for compliance at this time. Warship 45 standing by on 16 out.
Now, since that blockade began, CENTCOM has said it has diverted more than 45 commercial ships. It's disabled 2 ships. Iran, in the meantime, continues to insist it is not negotiating directly with the U.S., but Iranian officials say they are negotiating with Oman. Martha, back to you.
Steve Harrigan in Tel Aviv. Thank you very much, Steve.
We are talking right now. We're talking at the request of Iran, backed by Saudi Arabia, backed by UAE, and backed by Qatar in particular, but others also. Many countries called, and they all wanted to give this a last chance. This is the last chance.
This is the last chance. Do you think Iran believes that?
John, the challenge in any of these types of situations is it's all based on the credibility of you in the mind of an adversary. And I think these constant threats, and we find off-ramps to not enact those threats, are causing our credibility to drive to zero in the mind of the adversary. And our strongest bargaining position vis-a-vis Iran was at the end of active combat operations now 4 months ago. And the further we get away from that moment, the less strength we have in the mind of our adversary.
You had a good analogy, a pop culture analogy about where we are with this, right?
I did. I said that from the movie Mall Cops, we'll yell stop. And if you don't stop, we'll yell stop again. And I think we're in that cycle where now the more cycles we have of this, the less likely it is to deter, the less likely it is to compel. And now I think we're less likely to get a good deal, even if Iran decides to give us a deal.
They're talking to us is just they talk to us and then they deny they're talking to us because they want to save face. Look, here's the way I look at it, Martha. Iran has been waging war in the United States for 47 years under 9 different presidents. Donald Trump is the first president who ever fought back, and he accomplished enormous amount of accomplishments. He entombed their nuclear program. He destroyed 85% of their defense industrial base. He sunk their navy, grounded their air force, decimated their ballistic missiles. These are huge accomplishments, but we have to acknowledge that when we had the ceasefire in April, we stopped at the 20-yard line. We were not done with the military campaign. And there's about 14 days of bombing to go to really finish the job militarily. Now, if it turns out that we're only going to go to the 20-yard line, I'm willing to live with that. It's 80 yards better than any president before him. And it's a huge accomplishment. But we have this opportunity here to irreversibly change the course of the Middle East. That's sitting right here for the president to seize. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's concerned about the markets, it's concerned about gas prices, concerned about the midterms. The administration is hesitating to seize that opportunity. Maybe it'll come after, maybe they'll take it after the midterms. I don't know. But right now we seem to be in this pattern where we're in this cul-de-sac since April of, we negotiate, then the Iranians violate, then we retaliate, then we negotiate again, and we threaten, and it just seems to be never ending. And so, if that's where we're going to be, if this is the most we can achieve, it's more than any president in my lifetime has done to set back the Iranian nuclear program.
Breaking today, Qatar says mediators are making progress to help reach a deal between the United States and Iran. President Trump has called it the regime's, quote, last chance. Our next guest is calling for tough action against Tehran, writing in the Washington Post that Iran's missile attack was a surprise. It should not have been. Years of muted U.S. response taught Tehran what it could get away with. Ben Ahmed Teleblu is the senior director for the Foundation of Defense of Democracies. Iran program and joins us now. Iran learned under previous presidents that it could basically continue its malign activities with impunity, but it's ramped that up even further in the last few months.
Absolutely. Great to be with you. Despite a ceasefire allegedly being in place for the past few months and even a deal, this is a regime that continues to fire ballistic missiles and drones at countries that house U.S. bases and military infrastructure, as well as threaten shipping in the Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz. So this regime continues to act and speak as the world's foremost state sponsor of terrorism.
So it learned this under the Carter administration, it learned under the Clinton administration, Bush administration, Obama, as well as Biden. But you see, it's even learned under the Trump administration, because after Trump took out Soleimani in 2020, Iran fired missiles at the Al-Assad air base, injuring a number of soldiers, gave some of them traumatic brain injury. But Trump didn't respond to that. He basically said, OK, so they responded, we're all good. And then, after Midnight Hammer, Iran fired missiles at the Al-Udeid air base. Didn't cause any injuries, but did a lot of damage. But President Trump didn't respond to that. So you write, as a result of that, quote, in each instance, Washington took solace that the pain it had inflicted on Tehran was worth any damage it incurred. This flawed arithmetic allowed Iran to close each round having saved face, and it drew lessons about what it could get away with. Put a little more meat on that bone.
Precisely. And, we call this in policy world mirror imaging, where we think that the adversary thinks and talks and acts like us. And fundamentally, that's not true. Just because there was no loss of life doesn't mean that what they haven't done wasn't damaging. This is a regime that knows it cannot win an outright battle of conventional capability. Therefore, it's trying to win a battle of wills. And they're even fighting a battle of wills right now against the Trump administration, both on the battlefield and diplomatically.
And to that point, let me pull the quote from your op-ed, because you suggest that the IRGC has determined that there's a limit to how far Donald Trump is going to go. You write this, quote, Tehran has come to believe it can prevail in a battle of wills, despite being militarily outclassed by a nuclear-armed global superpower. Washington's unwillingness to engage in a protracted war that would further spook oil markets, negatively impact midterms, and expend precious munitions like interceptors is by now obvious. The president was hoping that Iran would fold in the first few weeks of this confrontation. Clearly, the IRGC's got a little more steel than the president thought they did.
Well, clearly they have some steel, but clearly this is a regime that has shown us in word and in deed again over 47 years that they will play to the edge, that they will gamble. And unfortunately, we're in a very tough situation right now where, on the one hand, no president has done more damage to this regime more than President Donald Trump. But in the short term, Trump has backed away from a whole host of threats, I think 8 or 9. And even a newspaper from Tehran's municipality basically said that all of Trump's threats are watered down and that the U.S. is a paper tiger. So this is a tough position for U.S. deterrents to be in right now, despite the good track record that the president has had.
And I don't know how much this is taken into account in terms of the administration's dealings with Iran, or how much people at home really know about this. But over 3,000 years, Iran has been invaded by everybody. Alexander the Great, Roman legions, Arab armies, Genghis Khan, the Ottomans, Russia, the British Empire, and yet it survives.
And yet it survives. The one thing I would say, though, as a first-generation Iranian American, is I would not grant this terrorist regime the weight and the historical legacy of 2.5, 3 millennia of Persian or Iranian history. But what I would say is that this regime is playing to the edge because it believes it's found the soft underbelly of the West. At sea, that's currently the Strait of Hormuz. That's why the focus of the Trump administration, nuclear issue, is secondary. The first one is the Strait. And on land, that soft underbelly is our Arab partners. Our Arab partners in the Persian Gulf, as well as Jordan. The strikes against their critical infrastructure, their civilian facilities. By striking those, they are forcing a global superpower to have to act like the supplicants.
Yeah, and Saudi Arabia, I think 4 times now, has asked President Trump to stop the attacks. Behnam, it's always great to talk to you. You've got such a terrific perspective on things.
Pleasure.
Everybody should read your op-ed in the Washington Post.
Means a lot.
All right, thanks very much for being with us.
Martha, despite this continued violence and continued reports of attacks against commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, administration officials continue to be confident that a deal for free passage of all commercial shipping through that strait is really on the horizon, that such a deal could be signed as early as tomorrow. In the meantime, CENTCOM continues its tough blockade of Iran and all of its ports. CENTCOM released some video of that blockade of Iran in action.
Captain, you are requested to alter course to 190. If you do not comply, we will compel compliance with force. This is Warship 45. We will monitor your course for compliance at this time. Warship 45 standing by on 16 out.
Now, since that blockade began, CENTCOM has said it has diverted more than 45 commercial ships. It's disabled 2 ships. Iran, in the meantime, continues to insist it is not negotiating directly with the U.S., but Iranian officials say they are negotiating with Oman.